there are these little ruptures all the time in intimate relationships. You live with someone, now you have a toddler. This is going to happen. Honestly, even if you communicate 100% accuracy and explicitly with full candor, there's still going to be moments.
There's still a gap.
There's still a gap.
I think it's a collaborative effort. That's why communication is so important. It's more than that. It's one's own commitment to get clear on what support actually means and find eventually there's going to be a smaller and smaller gap over time to where it's exactly what that person means.
Conscious couples, business partners, and individuals, welcome to the Conscious Couples podcast, where we share our life, love story, and relationship expertise to help you consistently cultivate the most magnificent relationship possible.
Never again will you feel hopeless and alone in your intimate relationship challenges. We'll help you have the courage to be your authentic self, communicate effectively, and constructively resolve conflict.
Having accumulated thousands of hours coaching, speaking, podcasting, and hosting live events with conscious couples all over the world, Alan and I are here to guide you in all things relationships.
Thank you again for tuning into the one place where it's not about you or me, it's about the we.
Conscious couples and individuals, welcome back to the one and only Conscious Couples podcast. Today we have episode 209. What does support actually mean to you? Actually is in all caps. Before we jump into this episode, I want to remind you all we are here for one reason and one reason only, which is to improve your intimate relationship from the inside out. As always, my love, ladies first, what is your intention for today's episode?
My intention for our listeners for this episode in particular is to help them define what support actually means per the episode title, but also on the flip side, and we'll get into this, what it doesn't mean to you, and be more direct with our partners so that we can grow together, not apart.
All right, so people always say, when you ask what's the most important thing in an intimate relationship, one of the common answers you always get is communication.
Communication, baby.
Communication.
Yes. Yeah.
I always say trust.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Thank you. It's neither here nor there. And I think that if you don't have effective communication, trust breaks down. However, you have a client who is going through something consistently that's a great setting the stage for today's episode.
Exactly, which is why we wanted to use this one. And so if you're listening and this is you, shout out to you because you're working on this and I see you.
Does she listen?
I do believe so.
Shout out to you.
Yeah, shout out to you. And so to this end, this is something that is actually not that rare. It is actually quite common in couples that I see or individuals that I see that are part of a couple or in a relationship, for lack of better words. But anyways, long story short. So this client that I have, for anyone that's listening on audio, Alan almost just spewed out of his
production team. Don't get rid of any of that.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
It's all good.
So this client, whenever I see her, I work with her bi-weekly, and I have the privilege of getting deep into the worlds that we know as trauma and the work that she and I do. And so for an hour going deep into someone's consciousness, anyone, you want to have some privacy. And this woman just so happens to be a mom. And so being a mom of a toddler, that is so much work. I can only imagine. But in particular, when you're working on yourself for just 1 hour, you just need that time where you don't have a toddler tugging for your attention and you don't have your partner interrupting the time that you have. So we got on the phone. This was now a couple of weeks ago. But our last call that we had, we got on the session and she goes, before we get started, I just want to let you know, I let my partner know that we're going to be here for an hour and I need him to take care of our kid for an hour. But I am in the kitchen. So if you see him kind of go by in the background, like, I'm sorry, like I can't really avoid that. And essentially is kind of giving me that face of like, if we get interrupted, I've tried to communicate multiple times. This is nothing new that she's working with me. So he knows, he's aware. And it's kind of that face of like, Emilia, I did my best. And if we get interrupted, I'm going to have to kind of jump into the seat of being a mom and a partner, which totally pulls her out of the work that we do as her being a human, right? So it was probably 20 minutes that went by for our call. We're getting into some really deep stuff, and then who saunters behind, and you can tell her whole body shifted even before she saw on the camera that her partner was behind her. And he saunters behind and kind of is like, hello. And she like, her whole body like loves the fact that we're saying hello. It's like really cute. But you could see her whole body kind of shut down of like this like grief and like, oh, what the hell? Like I just asked for 1 hour. I just asked you to take care of our child and give me this space for 1 hour. And so for anyone who has been in that spot where you ask your partner for just one thing, seemingly simple thing, and it doesn't happen where that partner is supporting you in the way in which you thought you communicated it explicitly and directly you needed, it's exhausting. It's super frustrating. And in that moment, that client, you could see while she handled it with all the love and the grace that she naturally does, she was frustrated and she was extremely pissed off deep down inside. And I can feel it in her when it came over her in her body. What the heck do I need to say to be so blatantly obvious that this 1 hour of time every other week that I have with Emilia needs to be not interrupted, protected. Yeah, exactly. So that is the example of communication, and we're going to pick this apart 8 ways to Tuesday, but I share her sentiment in her story because she was communicative. If we were to ask other people and ask our listeners, like, did she communicate what support looks like for her? More often than not, people would be like, yeah, she did say that she needs you to take care of their kid and she has an hour and she needs no interruptions. And yet she also put herself in the kitchen where he might saunter and need something, right? So yes, the communication box is checked off. But what this episode and what this topic is all about is how can we be more explicit in our communication with what actually does support look like? What does it feel like? What does it look like? What are the time-bound necessities that you're asking for support? So in that instance, for example, it was between the 2:15 p.m. and 3:15 p.m. that I'm on this phone call with Emilia. Do not come into the house. Do not do this.
Unless
and do
the house
this.
is on fire.
Exactly.
Okay, so this is about support and candor and how those two go hand in hand. So I asked you about this prior to hitting record, which is, what do you think is the most important thing for our listeners? And you said communicating what support looks like, but also what support doesn't look like. Mm-hmm. And so from your perspective, and we know you might be listening, by the way, you think that it would behoove her to explicitly communicate both ends of that.
Yeah, I would love to have them both sit down and just be able to communicate for them, to be able to say, look, it's pretty black and white. This is not what you do. This is what you do, and just give that list and go over there. But I can't do that. So This is the truth. At the end of the day, every single couple needs to know when they're trying to ask for support from their partner, you can't expect that your partner knows exactly what those finite details are. Mm-hmm. So for her, the problem truly is, I do think, and again, although I know she's improving in this, is being explicit in the communication, meaning what time, what zone of entry. So meaning if you never want interruptions, number one, make sure that you're in a place that can't get interrupted. Mm-hmm. And if it is, then that's where the feedback loop comes in as a partnership.
So this is the fail forward. So you and I always do what we call an experience review. I've been calling it a performance review lately. So after that call, mm-hmm. and we're not sure if she did this or not, but she should be sitting down with her partner and saying, hey, that is not what I meant. And this, like, in order to make sure that doesn't keep happening. Right. Because in relationship talks coaching, what we find, Emilia and I, is these little ruptures add up and compound to a huge potential blowout later on.
For sure. And I think, something to put here is you could ask, is it on her to communicate what support looks like for her? Is it 100% her? Is it 100% his responsibility to lean in and ask and be all ears and try. This is where I hold a belief that it's 100% her responsibility to get it over to him, kind of like a tennis.
Okay, but what if she's done that and it still doesn't happen?
I didn't put the other part. And I think it's 100% his responsibility as a partner to her to lean in at 100% in his capability to hear what she's saying. And so I think it's a collaborative effort. That's why communication is so important. It's more than that. It's one's own commitment to get clear on what support actually means and find what we talked about. Eventually, there's going to be a smaller and smaller gap over time to where it's exactly what that person means. Yeah. And if you're not in a relationship where your partner, after a call like that, I wonder if he came to her and said, hey, babe, I know you asked for this. Can I get a quick feedback experience on what that was? What did I do well? And what did that hit? Did it hit the mark in this arena? So I know I interrupted and I came and said hi, like I know, I'm sorry. And the rest of the time, did it fit what you needed, right? Like that is really important on his end to come to her, just as it is for her to come to him after.
Well, it starts even before that, which is, did he recognize that she was upset?
Yeah.
Right, and that's the sensory acuity of noticing that she's frustrated. Like, would he have even noticed that she was upset with that? Do you think that he did notice?
I think a part of him does, but also given the context, he was coming up and her back was faced to him. And I think that that's putting a lot of sensory acuity on that partner to know the facial expressions that I'm getting in the screen. So no, I don't think that he got the view that I got, but I do think it's fair to assume like, hey, buddy, we've been working together for quite some time now. This is something that I know because she and I have talked about. She's asked you for support in, and that's why I said she's gotten better, and he has too. Like I've gotten the feedback loop.
Good.
So
okay. So sorry to interrupt you, but there's no couple on earth who isn't going to come across these little ruptures.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
One example, a playful one that we have is Emilia loves to put lemon juice in her food. And she accidentally put that in my food recently. I was so upset. And afterwards, it was like, sweetheart, I need you to seriously please not do that.
When life gives you lemons, do not.
When life gives you lemons, squeeze the entire lemon juice into Alan's Qdoba.
But you were straight up and honest with me of like, honey, like this is a level 10 out of 10. Like the food is so sacred to me and I look forward to it all day. And this like really hurt. Like
again, at the end of the day, I don't want to make it that big of a deal. But
no, but it was a big deal for you in your world, and that's important.
At the end of the day, I would prefer that stopped. But but I want to bring this back. Notes. So let's bring this back. Mm-hmm. So there are these little ruptures all the time in intimate relationships. You live with someone, now you have a toddler. This is going to happen. Mm-hmm. Honestly, even if you communicate 100% accuracy and explicitly with full candor, there's still going to be moments.
There's still a gap.
There's still a gap. So what do we say to people who are like, screw it, it's all going to be, we're
going to miss each other anyway.
We're going to miss each other anyway. And
why bother?
I don't know if miss each other is the right frame, but like we're going to screw this up anyways, so why does everything have to be a space shuttle launch? and that's what people are thinking, genuinely, because this is conscious couples, so if you're thinking that, then take care. I'm joking.
Good luck.
Yeah, no. But the truth is, like, percent error.
Yeah.
In this case, what do you think that was, percent error? Like, this is what she communicated. The percent error was 30%.
I mean...
Was he only 30% in the screen? I'm obviously joking. Okay, you just give a number, please.
Okay. Out of like what she, like I didn't see any kids coming tugging on her, but I did see him skirting in the background. So like maybe like he, missed it by a solid 20%.
Okay.
What didn't get, hey babe, by the way, I asked you to just take care of the toddler, which includes the inner toddler in you.
Okay, so here's my point though. Okay. The point is get the 20% down to 10, down to 5, down to 2.
Yes.
And here's 100%. The thing. If Emilia were to accidentally splash a little lemon juice in my food, we're good. It's the whole joke. I'm obviously being playful.
But slowly over time, I'm like, oh no, I'm ruining
No, it's okay. Look, but this is my point for our listeners. I think a lot of people in their head, they have these objectives. Objections.
Okay.
And one of the objections is, I don't want to make every day like a space shuttle launch. Here's the truth.
It feels like a lot, in other words.
Here's the truth.
Trying to care so much about explicit communication.
Well, the higher your standards are, and well, this is the truth. The higher your goals are, the higher your standards need to be. She has a goal to grow with you. She's in Evolve Coaching. She wants to improve her life, and she needs that hour. She could say, screw it, whatever, he was in the background, it is what it is. But if she's trying to be an empowered woman who is going after her goals, she has to hold that standard.
It's a necessity.
And if he was off by 20%, I kind of wish I didn't ask you that question because it took you a while to get there, but yeah, 20%, then how do we go from 20% to 10%? Meaning less and less and less percent error. If it's not like we're shooting for the moon and you have to be exact, but you can be within hailing distance would be good. So at the end of the day, I do think that the 1% improvement consistently over time, and the feedback loop is the critical part that I want to hone in on here, which
it's
is
the system underneath being able to actually communicate what support means and looks to you, to your partner. At the end of the day, if you do not have a feedback loop, aka both partners have a growth mindset and are willing to take feedback, you can either choose frustration that turns into nothing, that turns into contempt and resentment towards your partner, or frustration that turns into fascination, which turns into more percentage closer to what you actually need. Like, which one would you rather?
Yeah, so transformation formula is frustration into fascination, fascination into transformation. So frustration, he's in the background, I asked him not to be. Fascination, she's fascinated. Why is he in the background for what I just told him not to be? Transformation is have another conversation of explicitly what support looks like. And that's really the point of this episode is, if nothing else, leave this episode and go have a conversation with your partner about, I call it a frustration audit. Don't come with a 50-item list.
Come with your
top 3.
Well, top 3 that are like the most frustrating for you, aka it's your 10 out of 10 frustrations.
You and I are always doing these feedback loops all the time, where that's why the lemon juice story is so funny, because that will never happen again, because I know...
I mean, it might, but
yeah, but it's probably not
unrealistic.
Sweetheart. Between you and me,
you won't burn me at the stake for it.
Never.
Because
honey,
you know that I could literally
that term.
Burn water.
Okay, yeah.
In the kitchen.
So, hold on a second here. I wish you wouldn't use burn at the stake.
Yeah, that's not
okay.
Not cool.
Here's my truth, love. Here's my truth. This is my candor. 24/7, 365, you and I are iterating upon our systems and constantly talking to each other. Like, if anything ever frustrates you that I do or don't do, or vice versa, you and I come together, talk about it, and then we improve.
Yeah.
And that is it. That's it. End of episode.
That's not normal, though.
I know, but that's my point.
That's what we're trying to help other conscious
Which is why
couples.
I wanted to playfully use the lemon juice example, and I don't want to make it a whole thing. I just want it to be known that if I didn't have the courage to actually say, sweetheart, please don't do that, and you also have the conscientiousness to make sure you're conscious of it in the future, that would keep happening. I would sweep it beneath the rug, and then eventually I would lose it. And that's really bad. I think that's one of the reasons people fight, is the volcano metaphor, is these little frustrations, they build up and they build up and they build up, pressure beneath the surface, and then the volcano explodes and takes the whole island.
Well, to this episode, and kind of rounding out what we said, not only is it important for you to express what does support look and feel like to you in the explicit term of like, okay, I'm sitting down, do not come into the house, do not walk behind me if unless XYZ, like a house is burning down. That level of explicit is so important. I love using the equal opposite analogy, which is like a coin, right? You have one side of the coin, which you have communicated what does support look like for you. Now, what's its equal opposite, which is the other side of the coin? What does it not look like? And that allows you to kind of think about the scenarios that you wouldn't imagine always happen, which is when you feel the urge to come in and walk behind me and stop to wave, please don't do that.
Next time he's going to be like moonwalking behind. Or like crawling on the floor so he's not in the screen.
Maybe, I don't know, but that's where you get to think about, okay, at the end of the day, there's going to be moments where you're not going to be 100% sharing what does support look like and what it doesn't.
Yep.
But you being able to communicate at least one on each side to your partner helps to give them a little bit more holistic answer.
Last piece. This is the key. Now he gets a chance to also say, can you please not take the call in the kitchen then?
Perfect.
So
exactly.
that's my point, though,
Understandable.
is they can have a healthy discord and discussion about both of their coins and both sides of both of their coins so that they can come to a drive to 5, which is what we call it, where in the future, this just won't keep happening.
Yeah.
Because he can then rebuttal and say, well, if you weren't in the kitchen, then I wouldn't have had to, because I had to go get something on the other side of the house. I had to walk in the background. I'm not sure that's the case. It probably isn't.
And I wouldn't suggest rebuttal because at that level, I think that it invalidates what the ask is. I think it's more of a yes and.
Okay, there you go.
I hear what you're
I don't
saying.
mean rebuttal in a negative way.
I know,
I mean
but
a
I'm
healthy discussion. Yeah.
There's skills that you're naming that you and I have and exercise all the time in order to wear what you're saying.
Validate
passing
first.
it to someone else
validate first, and then also say, okay, in the future, I'm going to support you, but I also, if I'm going to support you and not be in the background, can you please go in a different room or whatever it would be? Okay, we got to jump out of here. At the end of the day,
solid start.
It's a great start. Sweetheart, it's a great
I've got
start.
bones to pick with that, but I do think it is a great start, and I think that a request would be really lovely. But we'll do a whole separate conversation on that, nonviolent communication and feedback discussions. I think you and I should have a separate dialogue on feedback discussions.
Right, we'll do another episode in the future about that. I don't know exactly what your bone to pick, for lack of better phrasing, is. Go ahead, briefly.
Okay. Essentially, when you're going into a rebuttal type conversation, while I understand from a Discord standpoint, that...
When I say discussion,
yes.
I'm not...
However, when it comes to human beings and partners that are literally in the feedback loop, there's like a higher probability for conflict to be happening and not necessarily conflict for getting the quote unquote truth pebble that you and I naturally have to where you just volleyed that.
Oh.
So...
Okay, so sit down with your partner and then they each share their perspectives and then you come up with a solution in the middle.
Beautiful.
Is that better?
Beautiful. Yep,
awesome.
Yep.
Okay, all right, so we got to get out of here. But again, at the end of the day, what does support look like for you? What does support look like for your partner? And if you are constantly not feeling supported, you have to communicate this.
Yeah.
Because it's going to boil over eventually and it's going to take the island metaphorically. All right. We have a Relationship Talks virtual event coming up.
Yes, getting on the same page about failing forward in real time. You just saw a little bit of that, failing forward, and how we just got on the same page with that requires humility between two people, right? So that will be on February 19th, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The link to register for that event will be in the show notes. We hope to see you there.
So if you've never been to a Relationship Talks virtual event before, we've done basically 5 years of these.
Yeah, this will
Coming
be our
up on
56th.
56th event.
Yep.
56 of these in a row. We work deeply to ensure that this is a deeper layer than this podcast. You'll notice Emilia and I on the show, like, okay, we got to go. Yeah, this is a full hour deep work. Bring your partner, keep your camera off, microphone off if you want, or you can engage as much as you want. We have a chat master in there. We have warriors that lead the charge. I'm making it sound like a hell of a thing. It's like we have zoo animals. I'm obviously joking. We have
fun in
we
there
have a
too.
giraffe.
Don't worry.
No, I'm obviously joking. We have a blast in there. But seriously, these are, as someone who was an engineer who didn't study this, like relationships, it's so unbelievable.
Yeah.
This stuff is so good. So it's free. Register. The link will be in the show notes. We do them every month. And if nothing else, you'll meet other members of the Conscious Couples community, which really I'm learning proximity is my word for 2026, one of my words, which is just get around people that are successful. Mm-hmm. And trust me, there's things they're doing and not doing that are going to make you successful as well. Get around it. Proximity is power. And that is all. So thank you as always. It's not about you or me. It's about the we. We'll talk to you next time.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Conscious Couples podcast. We love connecting with the Conscious Couples community, so please check the show notes to connect with us and say hello on social media.
If you and your partner resonated with this episode, please leave us a 5-star review at the link in the show notes and share this with someone you love. Until next time, it's not about you or me, it's about the we. We'll talk to you next time.